Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. Anyhow, we are in deep trouble, actually. So the entire episode, the 1 hour, will be fully dedicated to the recent decisions and to actions taken by the government in an effort to curb the skyrocketing prices of the commodities and the plummeting of the current national current Chinese pound compared to the dollar. Anyhow, that's why we are hosting in this episode two of our distinguished economists in different fields of contributes a lot, and he is a professor in the university, and he works in different institutions in different parts of Africa on which these countries, most of these countries they have, and they still have the same problem of Sudan. Some of them, they got delivered from the crisis, like Rwanda. Others are still trying hard. Also, we have our friend, he was here many times, economist Abdurrahim Jamal Sabra. He is a wide spectrum economy, especially in marketing and the monetary. Say just direction to enlighten the viewers about the possibilities and about the loopholes in these recent decisions. Okay, so we start by Abdurrahim Sabra. Abdurrahim, a few days ago, maybe you followed that the High Economic Emergency Committee issued about more than 15, 16 decrees in an effort to do something about the deterioration of the economy. The most important decision is the floating of the national currency. It is left now to the different banks, so they can compete between each other, maybe. And I think it happened. A few examples in the past week happened. So do you think this is something good? Is it a good step, or it is a little bit dangerous?
First, thank you, Mr. Abu Haras, for hosting us. Regarding the decisions that were issued maybe the last week, I would honestly find it very strange to move the monetary policy from the central bank and maybe allow the private a lot of volatility in the price, which comes about to the main factor that the country still is in a deficit or fiscal deficit, and it would continue to be so. It will continue to have volatility in prices until this deficit is met. We had seen good progress in the past year from the beginning of the floating of the SDG. A pegged float which was, let's say, relatively controlled by the central bank based on supply and demand and based on the reserves in which the central bank had began at the time. The economy to begin to operate efficiently. Companies were able to purchase the required foreign dollars through the auctions that were held, and the central bank had, let's say, reserves to actually control the exchange rate to a certain extent, and to allow these the private sector to operate. I imagine that ever since the 25th of October, there's probably a stop in inflow to the US dollars or to. So I see the measure that was implemented now as a bit dangerous in the situation that we are in, and I imagine that it will continue to deteriorate until they regain the previous position of actually having reserves to back the decisions that the government wishes to make. One indicator is in the past week we've seen that banks issue rates independently, and it was very strange to actually view the arbitrage, or the actual meaning of arbitrage, where you to transfer goods in different values, even internally. I could buy dollars from Bank X at 550 and sell it to Bank Y at 600, theoretically, which is, I think, catastrophic, and it's very strange that the upper hand from the central bank is lifted this prematurely.
Okay. Having heard Rahim, Riyad al-Ibad, I think you have not only this is one of the 16, but just tell us about your views about this in particular, but there are some other about 16 giving the freedom of banks to set the prices on daily basis of the foreign currency, and what it is the effect of this on the economy. Is it something positive, or Abdurrahim is saying that definitely it is not good, and it might, because with the absence of funds reserve in the Bank of Sudan, things will go at large. What can you tell us about your feeling?
Thank you very much, Mr. Engineer Haraz, and my regards to all the Horizon team, and my regards to my colleague. In fact, by the way, what if you compare the X regulation and the X policies about the managed floating and this one and free floating system, there is advantage for the rest, for this one, and for the advantage and disadvantage. If you consider the first one about managed floating, it needs a lot of reserve should be there in the central bank. There are differences in this type of policies. You have to put, maybe you don't have, it's required a lot of maybe reserve. This is something free, it's give the hand free for all the banks to at least to collect and to sell and buy for the demand and for the it needs a lot of regulation also, because I fear this type of regulation, or this type of system, or this type of policies to be isolated from the rest of the policy, of the military policies. That's the main dangers on this type of policies. So if you issue a type of regulation like this, or decrees like this, isolated from the rest of the comprehensive policies of the monetary policy, it will not going to stay for long. It has to need a lot of guards from the another policies, because maybe we expect any type of going left or right for this policy. Maybe they're expecting maybe the soaring banks now. I think so in the black market now it's reached up to 600 and more than that, and that is the problem of it. It needs management, and it needs managed like the first regulation, first policies of the floating the price of the managed float price. That one It stayed for maybe more than a year or something like that. It was stable, and it happened this stability in the exchange rate, and it was stable for one rate in the bank and in the black market. But now we have seen the soaring of the price, and we have seen the prices going and jumping so much by day in a week or maybe 10 days. It increased more than 100 pounds, and that's what which is that what the policies internally putting part of the goals of it. It might expecting the expatriate to come and buy their maybe their money directly to the bank, transfer the money to the bank, and that one it needs another policies even. That one is it's really is another problem of expatriates, because expatriate up to now they don't have any confidence, they don't have a trust in our institution here, they don't have a trust in the bank, they don't have a trust in the central bank, they don't have trust, because changing of the policies every day, and without confidence, without trust, without package of interest. It is not a policy, but it is something like maybe you said that something like a decree, maybe or something like that. But it needs it needs package of policies. It's not because isolated policy like that. It will have a lot of resisting from the rest of the stakeholders, especially from the black market. Black market will never surrender like that. It's not going to stay and wait for the central bank to it. Definitely they have alternative policies. They're going to do it, and they're going to resist this type of policies. And this type of policies, they have a lot of, you know, that the black market we don't think that the black market is working just like that randomly. It's not that. Black market is very stable. When the black market is really established, so we need a lot of policies to guard this type of policies. Because if you issue the policy like this in the air and leave it like that, it will never work.
Okay.
It will never work. The banks it might work for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and compete with each others. Maybe they will. The main issue is going to the pound is going to lose a lot.
Will backfire. Okay.
The bank is going to be in problem. In fact, by the way, if we don't have a vision, a proper vision on that. So we need a vision. Responsibility of the central bank should predict how going to be within 2 months. 3 months, how it's going to be? Is it going to is going to resist resist the black market? Is going to stay for at least to be stable? The policies are going to increase our reserve in the
Okay, but maybe okay, Dr. Yasir, that's okay. But Abdul Rahim, maybe I'm not sure, but maybe the decision maker, those in the Minister of Finance or those in the committee, this economic measure committee, maybe they are thinking of combating the black market or the hidden economy or the parallel market of the dollar. Which will create another window of corruption. Because, for example, if as a citizen goes to the bank to buy, okay, let us say X bank, to buy, I want $3,000 because I want to travel. They will not give it. Definitely say, no, we don't have. But if the X bank sets the value, as you said, less by 50 pounds from Y bank, through the corruption process, because definitely banks, they have the dollar. And then he to the other bank at the higher rate, and the difference is the area where corruption is. What can you tell about this? Is it a good means to combat the black market?
At this point, I find it very difficult to believe that the measures taken would actually combat the black market. I think they actually strengthened the black market, because you create disparities in let's say, the US dollar is a commodity, so you just created disparities. And it may seem from our perspective that these decisions were not coordinated different aspects of the economy. Let's say for once the exports. And during the stability in the past year, we've seen people leave the black market and leave the unofficial channel because of the stability that was available through the official channel. If I'm exporting goods, I want to be able to determine the return I would have on these goods in hard currency. So now we are again back to the point where it's very volatile. There's a lot of disparities, a lot of uncertainties, which will ultimately leave people to use the black market or to smuggle gold or goods or commodities out, because it provides more secured generate, or do they have funds in which the central bank initially had reserves? Are now banks, individual banks, allowed to have the reserves and operate independently? I find it hard to believe, because our economy is still very premature, and it's still in an unstable situation. It's not a free market economy where we say we are reached this point where banks determine their own rates, because the market is operating efficiently, and it's a very stable economy. So from our perspective, I would still believe that the actions or the decisions taken will probably lead to we are again back to the point where the deficit is increasing, the import versus exports, the gap is increasing versus what was happening in the previous year, where there was a bit of stability, a bit of reserves, a bit of forecast, a bit of confidence in the exchange rate and in the economy as a whole. And let's not forget that other aspects which are also going to affect this greatly are the fact that the port is not operating. There's a backup in flow. You cannot export easily. So this adds on to further.
Okay, Abdul Rahim. Dr. Yasir, as you said, now there is actually a debate, because if, as Abdul Rahim says, if one of the reasons for this decision to give freedom to banks, definitely some banks will try to put higher to compete with the black market. I think those who are really interested in getting foreign currency, I think they will be competing with the parallel market dealers, or with the customers, by offering what about the auctions conducted by Bank of Sudan in the last few months? And it proved to be successful. It did something good. Yeah. But at that time, the Bank of Sudan, they have some reserve, maybe. So what can you tell us about both issues, that giving the bank the freedom to set every morning the prices of the different currencies? Will this will be one of the means to combat the black market trade? There was reserve in the Bank of Sudan. Almost the black market dealers were about to abandon this job and go for other profession, because the bank rates were almost even better or equal to the, but at that time, Sudan, as Abdurrahim said, the situation was different. What can you tell us about the auctions, the effectiveness of the auctions? And can it continue as this situation? Can it continue? Can Bank of Sudan go on the same auctions? And what about the bank, the freedom of bank to set prices?
Time maybe about 8 to 1 year. It has a lot of advantage, and what was positive at its control of the currencies, control of the prices, and the rate of the dollar, and the control of the quantities, which is for exports of the dealers in banks, which is shareholders and part of the customers of the banks. It stayed for a long time, but it didn't stay for long more than that because of maybe. The bank has so much problem of the reserves. What this type of policies of managed floating, it needs a lot of reserves. It needs a reserves. So the reserves maybe cannot come again back. Can't come back because of this became now free for the whole financial institution, for the stock exchange market, and for the banks to buy and sell freely without any and to compete with each other, to compete with the black market. So that means this type of system, it doesn't need many reserves. Maybe reserve, it can collect the reserve from according to the buying and selling of the banks at the end of the day. The competition between the banks, I don't think it is negative, but it is positive. This type of policies and system and regulation, it is there in most of the African. Inflation, the problem of exchange rate, changing of exchange rate day by day, maybe in the day, one day, changing of type of policies. It cannot copy the policy like that and put it as the same from even from science. It needs a lot of regulation. It needs a lot of vision and strategic how to manage your policies internally according to your economy, because the economy has so much problem. I know that from maybe after 25 of October, so there are some problems in the economy because of the ban of the and freeze of many assistance and many loans and whatever. So now this policy, I don't think is going to stay for a long time. But also maybe the government. Out of the policies, maybe it can have another tools. Maybe it will interfere from here to there. And central bank itself even is a member in that committee, the first member, and Minister of Finance and the banks and revenue institution and the custom. So maybe they can do something from between each others, but freely like that. So I think at this time, maybe within 3 months, I think so. It's going to maybe the pound is going to suffer a lot. But we are expecting if the government try to interfere, and they are not going to interfere because these policies, there is no interfering from, should not be interfered from the friends outside another countries. Maybe they can get parts of maybe loans or assistance or something like that. But with empty treasure, it will be a problem. I think so. Maybe the gold going to cover part of the problem, because there's another regulation in the committee. So we're expecting also that maybe, all the traders and all the exporters of the gold, they started to come with all their production to the central bank, and that's maybe can at least can make some balances in the. And this is, it is not, according to me, it is not that.
Reap of this, whether it is gold, but it seems that the situation, the economic situation is going down very fast at a pace, a very high pace. So it cannot tolerate any mistake. Dr. Yasir, you said that you are sure that the government will come and correct this, because this is definitely not. I agree to Abdul Rahim that the pricing, having different prices and giving the onus of deciding on the price of the national currency to the banks, to different banks, as they said, will some banks, do you think that some banks will coordinate or they will compete so that they can make prices equal? X bank with they decide on the same rate to avoid the competition and to avoid the cutting throats of each other. Do you think that banks are responsible enough and courageous enough so that they take the right step of setting the prices collectively, one price, they agree on one price?
The first aspect is if the intention was that they would coordinate, then why remove this from the central bank? Because automatically it would have been coordinated down to all of the banks as a central policy. Disparities as just let's say policies. In reality, they cannot operate because these banks, I imagine, rely on inflow of hard currency, which is generated through exports or other aspects like that. And I imagine that the market or the economy, the private sector, will probably be very resistant to operate in a situation which is very volatile to most likely, like Dr. Yasser said, it will lead to a deteriorating situation rather than having any improvements. Again, I say this from the information that we have now, unless there is unknown information or reasons behind these policies, I would have to agree with Dr. Yasser that it will lead to more deterioration in the economic situation.
So it will lead, he said, it will lead you. Do you think, okay, tell us about also, you can add to what he said and you can add more, but also, maybe it worked for a while, but it failed because one part of one side of the equation is out, completely out after the 25th of October last year. What can you tell us about what Abdul Rahim concluded his talk and about the conferences held in Sudan, outside Sudan, especially with the partners and friends and the Paris Club and whatever these international institutions?
I think so. According to me, the free market in this type of situation of the economy cannot work as well like that. So the situation is the black market in different commodities and different in trade. It is really harming the economy so much. As you know that the irregular market there outside is having and there is no, up to now from the government, there is no any vision how to attract this type of money which is outside. 80% or 85% of the money of the local currency, it is outside the bank system. That is very dangerous, in fact, in the economy, because the bank now is working, or all the economic working with 15% only in our institution, and that is really something very dangerous. So we need a vision. We need at least a system. that illegal market is harming even our expatriates outside, buying and selling from the side, buying the cars, buying whatever properties, buying a lot of commodities through that market, and that market is working as the banks and financial system can give you even loans, can give you assistance, can give you murabaha, can give you everything. So this is it nearly that this type of regulation and the policies of of currencies of organizing the market of the currencies, it is really it's not enough. Because expatriate itself, they need more than 2, 3 policies, how to attract them, how to call them, how to tell them that at least to deal with that and stay for coming with currencies and dollar, expecting that it will not work. So you have to make a full packages, and you follow that type of package, and you have to guard these policies for expatriates, for the illegal market, for trade even itself, international trade, internal trade, and border trade, and so a lot of things complicated and connected with each others. So we have to look for a way. You know, we need a revolution in this financial system, and we need a revolution in monetary policies. So if you're going to put it like that, and just you issue it like that, and just wait for it, and you're waiting for reserve, you will 'the total demand, and you have a problem of that in the economy. If you have a problem, you cannot treat it with a normal regulation. So you have to look for
something,
something
but
at least with a program, full physical shock program, so you can put all this type of system and this type of policies in one package, so you can move at least within 2 years or 1 year even. You can see that.
Something all people they talk about gold. Nobody knows exactly. Do you have any figure for the gold, you or Abdurrahim? What is the value? What is the amount of gold? Just roughly, how much does it bring to the currency?
150 ton a year. So that means about 7 to 8 billion US dollar annually.
Actually, are we getting this?
We are getting last year maybe the Minister of Mining is saying that Minister of Minerals saying that the revenue of the gold is about 1.6 or 1.7. That means about maybe 36 or 37 tons, which is being sold and buy through
the other smuggled.
That's smuggled. So the most of it smuggled, about 80% is smuggled, and that smuggled nobody has up to now in this mining sector or in financial sector has a vision of how to 'the official gold from the concession, from the tailing companies. It is really is easy to control, but that one cannot control because most of it is outside. The government take the revenue of it, take the most of the fees and whatever from those miners, but nobody knows where the gold goes. We have seen the market of the gold outside. We have seen the gold of Sudan in different countries around Sudan, neighboring country, and nobody knows who is smuggling and who is trading on that.
And who is protecting the smugglers? Okay,
There is a lot of corruption in that. Really, there is a lot of corruption. That's something very. Talking about stock market, gold market, that one also it is another problem also, because up to now all the sectors is not organized, the whole the sector is not compact, all the sector is not consolidated, all the sector is not in one unit. The problem with the sector now, each sector maybe the company is working differently. The company itself, the mining company is working differently. The Minister of Mining is there, and the tradition random mining also. So no, we don't have any unity of these sectors. So you can issue policies from internally, and you can issue policy from inside. minerals there, it is there, but it's not enough.
Not
It's not
enough.
enough.
Abdul
So
Rahim,
there is a lot of
this
problems.
is because most people they are talking about gold. Now, just Dr. Yasser gave us just a figure of 1.2 billion, but people are talking about more. What
Yes.
is being smuggled is by far more than this. As he just estimates that it should be about $7 billion.
Yeah.
Not only this, also I want to ask you about another something similar to gold, which is the gum arabic. Gum arabic, we have the monopoly. We have the largest production in the world. 85% of the gum arabic, which is used in almost every is being smuggled is by far. I read an article that 65% of the gum arabic is smuggled. Only 45% goes through the channel. Maybe the same as gold. So do you think calling for an auction for like for gold now, one of the 16 decrees taken by the emergency committee is to look for an auction for or to put the gold in the stock market, the exchange stock market. Will this solve under the fact that more than half of the gold and gum arabic is smuggled? Gold, say gold.
Yeah, looking back to the initial point we made earlier, all of these commodities, to operate a business in mining or in exporting of gum arabic, you would need to assess that the export value of the commodity and the return on investment that you would be getting. Again, to the point that Dr. Yasser made about these policies being holistic, it does not seem this way, again, because there is a clear issue with it seems that the government is moving toward allowing the banks to determine several of these aspects instead of the central bank. It would again incentivize the smuggling or the alternative channels to operate, as we said earlier, because of the disparities now or the uncertainties which are created through operating through the official channel. As long as these disparities exist, we cannot incentivize the private sector to operate through the official channel or to operate at all, because these volatilities will calculate any aspects in a successful business with this amount of volatility through the banking channel.
So you think the most important element in the success of any stock exchange for gold, like or gum arabic, is the control of the flow, actual flow. If you have a leakage, big leakage, it won't work. It will not work. That's what you are saying.
Let me just add something a little bit to what Mr. Sabra said about the stock or the market of gold, for example. It is difficult to do that in Sudan at this time because so we don't have a proper system of financial system up to now. We don't have international system which is going through the clearance around the world easily in LCs, in letter of credit, in the guarantees credit, in any type of transfer. So if you have, this is one of the main pillars in stock exchange market if you want to issue that one. Secondly, you don't have a proper laboratories. So you have, if you want to do, at least you want to sell gold at this time. It's always very sensitive item. It's not like gum arabic or maybe like cotton or like that. It's very sensitive, one of the sensitive items around the world. So if you want to do that one, you have to know that your refineries. So you have to have full package of the tools, all the tools. You don't have all the tools now at this time. So to do that one through your bank, through your financial system, it will be very difficult now this way at this time. If you want to do it internally, maybe you can do it internally in Sudan through your bank internally. But if you want to do it just internationally, like any exchange market, any type of market or any auction, it will be very difficult, I think so. And like now UAE, now in Dubai, there is a lot of auction there. There is a lot of market, gold market there, and we are selling even many times. Since 2012, we are selling gold to UAE, to maybe to another. Our system in Sudan, especially in production. What is the roles of the government? What's the role of the private sector? The problem of the financial institution? What the role of the miners? What is the role of the companies? What is the policies? What is the regulation, the laws, and whatever is organizing all these sectors? So there's a lot of things you have to do. In this one also, we need another revolution. So the revolution is not only we are going outside on the street. So we have to do this revolution should be everywhere in every corner. So you have to revise all these things. The system itself, it needs a lot of things. So it's like for gold, it will be difficult. So up to now, and maybe in Gum Arabic it can succeed, because Gum Arabic is different, because that one you can put 10, 20 kilos in your pocket from gold, but that one is difficult. So because Sudan is one of the biggest producers in the world, so 80%, 85%. If Sudan follow what is going now about the smuggling of Gum Arabic, well, Mr. Sabra said, and you have mentioned that, Mr. Haras, in the international market of Gum Arabic, we have to follow that one. From where these buyers and these trades and these companies got that Gum Arabic.
They don't
We
have
have to
it.
ban them there, because international law should ban them in normally by a normal transaction. Even there is international and big countries in Europe even. So those type of even the smuggling from Sudan, from the neighboring countries. So we have to get our right there. We have to look for the market of Gum Arabic, from where they have got that Gum Arabic, because when you smuggle something, you cannot go take it to the international market, which is going to be very dangerous for the international trade. Even WTO should not accept that one. So we have to go and sue these countries. We have to sue this market, and we have to sue even the market itself even. Have to Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance should follow that. Minister of International Trade also should follow that one. Our emphasis even where this type of market there, we have to follow that one.
No, but the problem, the whole globe is corrupt. But if you go just for the Gum Arabic, I think maybe you give me your. I think the shortest way and the easiest way, but it's a little bit better at the fairest at application. For Gum Arabic, Arabic, just one decree is enough. No export for Gum Arabic as it is, unless it is processed, because some Sudanese Gum Arabic, they are Sudanese. They take it from here at the value of a ton, about $3,000. They make certain processing for the Gum Arabic, and they sell it in Dubai, and they sell it the ton for 15 or $16,000 for a ton. So don't you think, Abdurrahim, if we just tolerate that for, let us say, for 1 year, give the people 1 year to build their processing plant for the Gum Arabic. This 1 year, nobody is allowed to export Gum Arabic. This could give an impact. What can you say about this? Is it something wishful
building plants or adding value to gum arabic requires investment.
Yes.
Can we say that the government currently has provided an environment which is welcoming to investment, so that me personally or a private company would drive funds into this economy or this country at this point in time, and to lock up funds for a year or two until I am able to operate? I would probably guess not. So this is again the same issue we go back to.
Yeah.
Unless the government provides stability and an ecosystem which is welcoming for the private sector.
First of all, we have to
Provide the environment.
to qualify ourselves
right.
before
True.
inviting by security, stability. This is what you are saying, by
Yes.
security and stability, and then this could have been done maybe immediately after the intervention, the positive intervention of the international economic, like IMF, like World Bank, when they started pumping some money, and they put Sudan on the HIPC for the
Initiative.
debt relief.
Initiative, yes.
This could have been done, but now things definitely are. We have about
This is
five
the main
minutes.
issue, in fact, for the economy. It's the
What
main
about
issue.
what about Dr. Yasser, for both of you this question? What about the sudden stoppage of the international financing agencies immediately after the 25th October, after the decision, because that they are thinking that Sudan is back to the the military regime, and that's why they stopped till this moment. They stopped, which is now what people are started getting the effect of this stoppage.
2021, the budget is depend 51% to the international aid, international assistance, and this is what they promised Sudan to, especially the finances from the Sudan friends and about the grants, about the assistance and whatever. So after that, they have stopped after 25th of October. They've stopped this type of assistance. They've stopped. They freeze a lot of assistance, a lot of money which is coming to Sudan, and the international community. This is money. It is money, so cannot come in any interrupted system. So they cannot give you the money while there is no stability. So why there is no any problem, why these people, they can give you the money while you are not in the whole of the situation, it is not stable. So we are expecting that if they, at least if they happen any stability in the nearest futures, so maybe it can come back again. And now they try to they try to at least to release part of it, but it's not up to now. It is not reached to any point.
Not reached.
So they stopped because even now, though, as we know, the international community and the international world now is in problem also with this war, which is by Russia and Ukraine, and another problems also. As we know that most of the problem is coming from 2000. From this international community to come to Sudan. We are expecting investment from FDI to come to Sudan. We are expecting even maybe a portfolio investment to come to Sudan.
Okay, Abdurrahim, we have about a minute or so, one or 2 minutes. About generally, now we have a problem with the stoppage of the aid. Without this aid, the economy cannot get up. And without security and stability, it will not. What can we say about the importance of the international community assistance to Sudan?
foreign direct investments, which development programs, I think they're amounted to 1.8 billion, in addition to the family support program, which was, I think, another 1.5 billion, and the additional humanitarian and other aid from the USAID, EU, and other countries. It seems that now the funds which have been reinstated have been reallocated to other aspects, excluding the government or the public sector from receiving these funds. Now they will go to humanitarian or civil society. This is when it comes to, let's say, the USAID. Other countries have stopped entirely. Development programs which were committed to Sudan. So without them, the forecast, the projections are obsolete. They don't exist anymore, and I imagine this is the main cause why we are deteriorating now in the last several months.
Okay. Okay, thank you, dear gentlemen, both of you, for this 1 hour of talk. We covered a lot of the, or most of the issues, the important issues, but still we think that both of you, we agree all that we should come to agreement between our political entities and bodies, and so that Sudan can be delivered from its see you next week in a different issue in Dialogue Horizon. Bye.